this session is being co-convened by Tina from Holmesglen, but she's just caught up today. So I'll get us started. It's not a presentation, it's more a collaborative session for us to connect across the network today. So while I will be recording, we'll just share only to the people who are interested in coming from the network outside of today. So I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians on the land on which we are each joining today. So I'm coming to you from Gubbi Gubbi, Cubbi Cubbi land on the Sunshine Coast, and I invite everyone to let us know where you're coming from, what lands you're joining from today when we do some round table introductions as well. So I'm just going to see if Tina's here yet. She's not. I'm just going to give her another minute, but let's do some, I don't know, I know this chapter is relatively new. So I believe you've met a few times last year. That's while Anna was the coordinator of the network. But there's some new people into the positions as well. So I'll take this opportunity just to do a bit of a roundtable introduction. If you're able to turn on your videos, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll just be using, chat and audio today. So if you just want to go around the room and just tell me where you're from, what your position is, and what you want to get out of today's conversation, if that sounds good. And I'll start with, I'll just go, I think everyone's alphabetical on my list on my screen today. So I've got Aiko Brown. Did you want to go first?
Okay, sure. So I'm from TAFE Queensland Skills Tech. My position is a student counselor, and I'm obviously doing this student voice regional leads. And I'm today attending from our Brackenridge campus, which is, I can say right, but tribal people's land.
That's
and
great.
today, yes, I like to, I like to just really be part of it and get the information as much as possible. If I can contribute, I will.
That's amazing. Thank you. And next I've got Diana.
Hi, I have met you before, Belinda, but I haven't met everybody else. So I'm from Bendigo TAFE Kangan Institute, manager student experience, metro campuses, and I am, based usually in Broadmeadows. Still, I'm working from home, but Broadmeadows campus, which is the Gunung Wilang Baluk of the Wurundjeri people land. And I am interested to find out more about the student voice, and I come here with Tron as well, which is working with me too. But nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Morning, Emma. Do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Emma Rice, Senior Advisor Learning and Teaching at TAFE Queensland and coordinating student voice at TAFE Queensland and the activity around student council as well. And what I hope to get out of this, I think it's really important that we have a network for TAFE providers because we have a little bit of a different space, although TAFE Queensland also delivers bachelor and master programs. It's just about how we can have those conversations about how we can impact TAFE students. Thanks.
Thank you. And Annabelle, morning.
Good morning, everyone. Oops. I'm from TAFE Queensland Skills Tech. So I work some of the people who have introduced themselves already and our team, a big team if you like, Iko and Emma so far. I'm also, like Iko, I'm one of the counsellors at TAFE, and I'm really interested to see how we can share ideas and look at how things can work effectively in the vet sector. I think some things in student voice, like Emma was saying, it's specific, or there's sorts of nuances, if you can say, with TAFE. It's different from university context. So interested to see how we can share ideas and work together.
Thank you, Annabelle. And Grayson, good morning.
Hello, how you going? I'm Grayson. I'm from TAFE Queensland, Brisbane. I'm coming from Brackenridge today. I'm here with my manager and my colleague, Sarah. So my manager's Anitza. So yes, just coming to have a listen and see what other people are doing. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you. And Sarah.
Good morning. As Grayson mentioned, where I come from, TAFE Queensland, Brisbane, with the student engagement team, and yeah, looking forward to hearing ideas and sharing ideas and collaborating on the student voice space. So thanks.
Thank you. And I've got Newing, Trung. Sorry, did I say that right? Wrong?
Yeah, oh, you're right. Win, yeah. My name is Chung. Win is my family name. So Chung is my first name. So I'm working together with Diana at Benil Kenyan Institute. We're based in Broadmeadows, Kenyan Institute. And we are from the William Baluk lands of the voluntary Waiwurrung people. So we are running student ambassador program, and we are looking at expanding the program into the student voice program as well. So we would love to hear to see how's everyone doing and try to get some tips and to run the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Anitza?
Yeah, good morning. So yes, the NITSA TAFE Queensland Brisbane region. My role is Principal Consultant Student Engagement. And I've been a part of, I think, the Student Voice or Student Ambassador journey for TAFE Queensland for some time, with pilots maybe 10 years ago, and eventually going from our region to now across TAFE Queensland. So personally, a huge supporter of getting the student voice amongst different parts of our organisation. And yeah, we're here today, and I think like Grayson and Sarah said from my team, particularly just to hear what other organisations are doing and that collaborative aspect, to be inspired by the great work happening everywhere, I'm sure. So
Perfect.
lovely
Thank
to meet
you.
some of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Anne, did you want to say hello?
I'm from TAFE Queensland too, so Southwest region, and so I'm a faculty director of the education faculty. So I'm interested to learn more about student voice, and I just think it's so important that in my majority of my students are migrants, and so doing English language and vulnerable students from the C program. So keen to hear their voice really is my motivation, and just want to learn more on how to do it better. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. And morning, Tina. Hi, how are you?
Good morning. I'm so sorry I had IT gremlins this morning. And
that's okay. We've just finished our, we're just doing roundtable intros, so that's where we're at.
Okie dokie.
Do you want to tell us what?
Oh, sorry.
Who you are?
I thought it was up to me. Oh my
Sorry.
God. See, I'm not really. I for some reason it wanted to register me as Chisholm TAFE, and I was like, I got no idea what's going on here. So that's okay.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not from Chisholm, everyone. My name is Tina Whitmore. I'm from Holmes Glen Institute here in Melbourne, Victoria. Welcome everybody, and I do apologise for being late. Not really great of the co-convener to not have her IT working this morning. I'm manager of student engagement and equity here at Holmes Glen. That's a really interesting role, but underneath within my portfolio since the Student Voice and Student Representative Council, I also oversee First Nations and disability support for students at the 6 campuses. Well, we have 7, but one of them's more of a conference centre in rural Victoria. Here in Victoria. So welcome today, and I'm sure Belinda's been doing a lovely job in my 15-minute absence.
Yeah, we did a round table, we did an acknowledgement of country, so we got started. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you. All good. So I've sort of come in on the end of all of those. I'm not sure, Belinda, what you've sort of introduced for where we're at. Obviously, it's important for the TAFE chapter to get together and find out what's happening. And I am interested to hear where you're all at with that as well. It's probably going to be quite a significant journey for most of us with the changes that have been put in place with the spend of the student services amenities fee and the need for the student representative councils or for a student-led portion of that. So I'm not sure how you're all travelling there, and I'd be interested to see what you know in that space as well, and how what you think those changes may look like. Have you all heard about the changes of the 40% of budget coming towards student-led initiatives?
No, I haven't, Tina.
No, we haven't. It's actually quite interesting to hear about. No, we haven't. Yeah, it'd be great to know at least high level.
Okay. Okay, that's an interesting discussion. Maybe I'll ask, at the moment, do all of you have a student representative council within your institutions? Let's step back. Yes, hands up is great. Thank you, Emma.
We will launch a student council on August 21 at TAFE Queensland. We don't collect student amenity fees, and I wonder if that 40% is for the, I can't think of the higher education money. So we won't get that.
Okay. It is for dual sector, those people who do have dual sector.
Yeah.
Do you collect a general services fee?
We have, so that's not my area. So we have bachelor and master's area degrees, and as a TEXA requirement, they have to have a student council and people, you know, reporting through that way. But we haven't talked about money. We'd like some money. Anybody got money? We'll have some money.
Well, then you should be collecting a fee.
Okay.
For higher ed. A
So
student
just
services amenities fee. Yeah. So
I've just shared that fact sheet in the chat for you, Tina.
Yeah. Thank
for
you.
those who, it might be outside of the scope of your role, but so we are talking about the higher ed component. In terms of those.
Oh, that's the accord. I was trying to remember the name. The higher ed accord. Is that what's coming from? The money's coming from?
That's different.
It was part of that. It was like a recommendation of the accord, but the legislation came in play from earlier this year.
Sweet. Okay, we'll have a look at that. Thank you.
So I think it's a bigger impact to the higher ed providers, but for those dual offerings, in conversations with Tina, I think it's been a bit of a challenge, bit of a transition. So there's a link to a transition plan there as well. If you're not sure, it might sit in other areas of your institution, perhaps like how those fees are charged and what they're
absolutely
called.
Not anyone's here role. So I will follow that up. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Just so you're aware, Belinda, my chat is telling me it's temporarily unavailable as well. So I can't see what you put. No, it's okay. It's Monday and I've only had one coffee. So that's what it's saying. All right. So maybe where would you like this to head? So obviously that's a big, obviously Holmes Glen is we're dual sector, we have higher ed. And maybe I'll start with our journey. Maybe I'll explain that to you from what, came in at the start of the year or at the end of last year for us, was that we had to introduce the student services amenities fee. It was something that Holmes Glen did not charge students, and we didn't charge students a goods and services fee either. So that was something we needed to introduce, which we have. Then there was an allocation that came into my area to say that 40% of that needs to go towards student-led organisations. That is what those fact sheets are going to explain to you. That's what the government is asking, and now they're also suggesting, how are you going to do that? Where are you going to spend that money? That all had to go on our website. And by the way, feel free to have a look. We've just updated that and put our report out there for Holmesglen as well, and updated where we have allocated our spend of that 40%. That is fluid and it can change, because our SRC will be deciding on where that spend goes as part of our transition plan moving forward. They will be the people that we will present. This is what students are saying they want. This is the feedback we're getting. You know, do you approve the spend in certain areas? Okay, so that's what I've presented to our Student Representative Council. We've had Student Representative Council for probably since 2019, I would say, Belinda, when Michaela Hosking, the person before me, got involved with the Student Voice Australasia, so and did some work in that space. And then I've come in and been in this position for probably 12 months, and now have to step into this space a little bit more from my portfolio. I don't know if we've had the same challenges as you, but one of the challenges is always getting in the TAFE area sector is always getting students to want to be involved in SRC, and the length and period of time for some of those students. We do have members of higher ed community in the SRC, which is fantastic, which we will know be there for 1 or 2 years, which is great. However, we do have a lot of vocational and VET people studying those qualifications coming through, and that could be here at Holmesglen. You know, we have a lot of trades, a lot of tickets. They could be here for 2 days, they could be here for 6 months, could be 12 months, could be 18 months. I think, would you say that would be fairly representative of the students mainly coming through your area? So sometimes by the time they apply to come into SRC, they're already, you know, well into their course, and they might go, well, we're only going to be here for another 6 months. So we're trying to set up some documents, some terms of reference, some, I suppose, guide as to, you know, what's the length of time we like you to be involved in the SRC, without being exclusive of people coming through. We have our higher ed areas who have their own course leaders and independent SRCs. That's been a really interesting space for us, because I didn't know all of that existed, and believe it or not, higher ed didn't know that Holmesglen SRC existed. So nobody was talking to anybody, and everybody was wondering, which SRC am I going for? What's happening here? To sort of mitigate that, to help us to connect into that area, which was one of the goals we set in the transition plan that we've just completed, and it has been approved by government, who lovingly said, no, you don't need 5 years to do that. You can do it in 4 and cut a year off our plan. Anyway, I'm still standing. So we, at the end of last year, had opportunity. Our CE was wanting us to employ graduate employment positions to a couple of areas. And one of them that we said we could actually allocate funds to from the SSAF fees, which is approved, is for what we called a graduate employment position for a student voice, student partnership role. So we have employed a full-time graduate coming from our events, tourism project management course area for 12 months at this stage. And that person sits within SRC as a member, because you can do that. Alumni for 3, if they're alumni, they've studied with your institute, they can be part of your SRC if they've studied with your institute within the last 3 years, they can be part of your SRC group. And so therefore, Flora is now sitting in that position and is the connector between our independent SRCs in the higher ed space and course leaders and our what we call like the Holmes Glen Student Representative Council in that space, and is connecting the two. So we've got two-way conversation going in. So Flora goes to their meetings and then feeds back, and we invite people from those areas now to come into the SRC as guests to come into those meetings. So that is one of the things that we've got in our transition plan, which might be something you may be interested in. So that is something that money can be spent on. That's for you to sort of bring that back. But we have found that is a good way of making sure we've got someone in the space to connect with the higher ed area. I don't think within Holmes Glen we could have an SRC just for higher ed. We probably wouldn't get an intake of enough students. We are at 8 members at the moment. I would like to see us sitting to 12 to 13, but 8 is okay because that's what we've actually got written in, that we are happy to sit at 8. And of course, you'll always know that your quorum is 50% plus 1, which is what we're starting to write in our terms of reference. That is sort of where we're at. We are working towards trying to work out how the Student Representative Council members actually elect other members, because at the moment we've got students putting their, you've got a question, Emma, hang on, we've got students just applying online, and then we run through an interview process with them. Yep.
So you're charging VET students as well, the student amenities fee?
No, that's a goods and services fee.
Goods and services fee.
Yeah.
But I know it says may charge. So do you have to be doing this? It's may is not a must.
In our website.
Oh no, it says in the actual fact sheet, higher education providers approved under the Higher Education Support Act may charge a SAF.
Yeah, they may, and you don't have to. Holmes Glen didn't prior to this. Prior to the government saying you now have to show us where you're spending that money and the allocation and how that's coming in. So for us to be able to show that, we actually had to know what was coming in. We used to wear the cost within our fees. Does that make sense? We didn't split it. Yeah. Now we've had to say, and you know, that's not for me. I wasn't part of how much and what that looked like. For us to be able to go back to government and say, this is what we've actually got in that fee, and this is how we're allocating it, we needed to know. So yeah, you may cost it, but good luck if you're going to be able to go back to government and actually say how that's done. It's already tricky enough to sort of split it between higher ed and VET.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to send this on to higher ed. They can sort it out. I'll continue what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just interesting if you've got students coming into your higher ed space, or you're being asked to work through this transition plan. Like, I don't know, Emma, have you got like, is your SRC just for higher ed?
No, when it launches, we'll have a representative from each region. We've got 7 regions at TAFE Queensland plus higher ed, and higher ed will have 2 representatives. So each region will have 1 representative, and we'll have like the chair and the secretary, 1 person from each region, and then 2 people from higher ed, 1 postgrad and 1 undergrad. And then we've identified 5 priority group cohorts. So First Nations, students with disability, LGBTQIA+, or their allies, and I've missed a group there. And then if they're not represented in those, we've got up to 13 people in our council. If they're not represented in those 13 people, then we'll be doing a separate call out for those cohorts. I did meet with Flora, actually. I met with Flora about 2 weeks ago and showed her, because it hadn't been endorsed by our academic board. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. maybe we'll connect and have a look at that as well. Sorry, I wrote some of that down, but I didn't get all of it. So you're looking at around 13 people.
I'll pop it in the chat.
Yeah,
Is
my
that
chat's not
launching in
working.
August? Did you say, Emma?
Yeah, well, August at our
August.
Student Voice Forum, at our second Student Voice Forum, we'll be
Okay.
launching the Student Council. And
Yep.
like you said, Tina, we don't know the numbers and how we're going to get them. Those spaces filled, and we'll start with whatever number we've got. We're going to have an expression of interest through our Student Voice at TAFE Queensland page on the website. So at the moment, you can become engaged, you collaborator, student ambassador, and then you can become a lead, and those leads will be a part of our student council. So the language may change as we work through it and we mature, but we will have, it will be launched this year. This year for next year, sorry, I should say that. It'll launch in August for nominations in January with our students. So it'll be in our orientation. We'll be putting it through our student newsletter. We'll be talking about it and screaming it from the rooftops.
It's really exciting because I know it's been a long time coming. You've been working on this for ages.
Yes.
So if there's any in the room who are just starting that process or haven't started, do you have any advice of like the work that you've done to date over the last few years to get to?
Read a lot, talk a lot, ask a lot of questions, and just keep on asking. And I think just having a look at other institutes, what's on their website. You know, we cruised University of Sunshine Coast for a long time, Belinda, and would ask Belinda the most random questions. But we also just ask people, and people are really generous with their time. So, and then also what fits, because we were trying to have a constitution and have all this legislation, and we're like, well, let's just pare that back, and what do we actually need? We need rules. So we've written rules around how people would operate, how they would maintain the code of conduct, what that would look like in our institute, because, you know, we have 144,000 students in 2025 across 6 regions, 54 campuses. You know, it's pretty huge, and trying to work that out, and then not to be so prescriptive that what it looks like in Brisbane is going to look like on Thursday Island, but we don't want to miss those people in those rural and regional areas. Yeah, you just have to start somewhere and start peeling back about what doesn't work. Yeah.
Thank you. Diana, did you have a question?
Yes, it's a couple. That sounds exciting, Emma. I actually, at Bendigo TAFE Kangan Institute, we're just basically initiating the process. And I have to admit, we tried a couple of times informally, just didn't actually work out. And the challenges seem to be bigger or more complex than the actual, I suppose, positive outcomes that can be seen in that, given that doesn't potentially give a return of investment in a short term. And that's how some, I guess, the thinking process can be for senior executive, but still whether the investment is worthwhile doing. But my questions to you were, so you mentioned you have a student voice forum, and that's been operating for how long now? 1 year.
We launched last year. So we launched Student Voice at TAFE Queensland on August 21 last year. We had our first Student Voice Forum. We did that face-to-face in our Brisbane campus, and people dialed in from across the state. This year it will be just virtual, so that it's equal across the state. We won't be having just people in a room and then dialing in. All the staff here, Aiko, Annabelle, Anitza, Grayson and Anne and Sarah, they're leads in the regions, and that's how we've been rolling it out. We have a very committed and passionate team who lead it in their region, and then we get the expression of interest. So everything has to go through the website. Every student has to express their interest through the website. That's checked twice a week, and then it's the regions advised, hey, Anitza, we've had an expression of interest from Belinda. She can be contacted here, and then Anitza will reach out as the lead for the Brisbane. So it's not coming back to us to do, and then they manage that, however, whatever that looks like in their region. So they might be doing Are You OK days, orientation days, student focus groups, Last year in ITSA, you guys went through some of your health and wellbeing content. You've had people, students access your regional academic committee.
That would be a key one. We've had a representative on our academic committee. I think this is our 3rd or 4th year. So they're a part of the terms of reference, etc., which has been great.
Yeah. So little wins, and we're not having so much success in the north of our north campuses, but they've got 3 really committed student voice members, and they're doing amazing things. They're having monthly, they're doing games on the lawn, so it's really just a conversation, checking in with people how they're going, and then we're going to start getting them by stealth. So we're working on QR codes, and it might just be really simple around what do you want us to stop doing, start doing, and keep doing, and having conversations about where people can access supports. We're doing many things. We're doing a splattergun effect.
That's good. Sometimes that's what you have to do to kind of really become visible and start showing some type of demonstrating the benefits of having a forum across different regions or campuses. So that's pretty good. In terms of recognition, which is the other thing that I think is quite tricky, formal recognition, whether they get pay or whether there's informal recognition. As we all know, life expenses are growing across the populations, and especially students, that it's hard to give your time for free. So how do you manage? Have you been
So we do appeal to people's generosity. So we do say it's a volunteer opportunity. You will be given a letter from the general manager from that region and presented with that. We've also this year started recognising students during National Volunteer Week. So they get a certificate, they get some merch. So this year they got the little National Volunteer pin, and then they can put that onto their CV. They get a little, in different regions again. Some regions didn't do anything. Other regions did a morning tea and had the GM come and chat. But they definitely get a letter from their GM and a bit of fanfare. We can't afford to pay people. Oh, sorry, what else they get is professional development. So a range of professional development. So we provide them access to the micro-credentials that TAFE Queensland delivers for free. We have an employability skills module that they can go through. We have different people that they could be speaking with, and we're just looking at how we can hook people up in the regions, and this is some of the stuff Anitz is talking about. I was talking to around mentoring. So is there a staff member that they can mentor with and learn some leadership skills, communication skills, and benefit from? Something else we're working on is a 12-month calendar around professional development. So conflict resolution, communication, leadership, self-promotion, the brand stuff. So people actually getting something. There's a little bit of momentum around it. We're meeting. And I just wanted to say, taking a step back, the leads in this room from TAFE Queensland are amazing. We meet every 8 weeks. They share what they're doing in their regions. They share with each other and they support each other, but they also share, this is what we're doing in Townsville, and this is what we're doing in Brisbane or Southwest. So people are really, they can share what they're doing and share practice. So.
If I could just jump in on that, Emma, with the PD, I think what's worked well is the different regions also offering the students various opportunities. So mental health, first aid would be one. So that's like specific training that our staff undertake, but where appropriate, we've offered it to wellbeing ambassadors. And so for a student, that's phenomenal. That is like a good quality additional level of training that they receive as a value add. So that's what I would suggest, is that within the regions we look to see the student themselves and to go, what opportunities can I facilitate for that student? I mean, that's how we treat it ethically, because they aren't paid. Originally, when we started, we did try to pay, but we just couldn't. And since then, I see that personalised value add actually has been really effective. And the other thing I was going to add, because I put my hand up ages ago, I was just going to say, the variety of activities, sometimes it comes from the students themselves. So obviously we need to have all these structures in place, like councils and meetings and things, but often it's each year's cohort that will say we want to drive, you know, a sense of belonging, and it'll be games on a campus versus a different group who might be passionate about a different topic at a different campus. So being flexible has really worked well for us as well, and which is sort of nice because that's the student voice part of it. It's what they think is important. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, everyone went silent.
That's all right. No. Thank you. Just waiting to see if anyone else wanted to add to any of that. That's all. I think
they did pop it in there, the mental health first aid. So we do offer students involved in student voice mental health first aid. It's a 2-day course. They get their accreditation through Mental Health First Aid Australia, and that has been really, really well received.
And just further to the rewards and recognition, so you might have seen in the newsletter, we are doing a nationwide survey to higher ed institutions at the moment around how they're rewarding, recognising and or remunerating students in student voice. So that closes at the end of the month. And that is an ethics approved research project that got approved last year. So hopefully we'll have a report to present back at a future session around what unis are doing in the higher ed space. But yeah, from what I'm hearing from other institutions, it very much varies. So there's some casual employment opportunities. I'd say the majority is volunteering, but just that focus on making sure that students are benefiting from the opportunity through all the things you just mentioned, like PD, mentoring, training. So if the budget's not there, just getting a bit creative around personalising it for the students to make sure that, it's worth it. It's worth it for them. So I know some other institutions have like formal co-curricular recognition programs where they get points or digital badges and that kind of thing. But on a smaller scale, just those personalised trainings, depending on what they're studying, and goodie bags, merch, all that stuff. Any freebies, right? Food is a big one to get them showing up. That's unless they're online. Online's a bit more challenging. So if anyone has any suggestions for online.
I know some regions are doing like coffee vouchers. I think that's happening in Townsville. They get a coffee voucher. We have different rules as you would around using money for coffee vouchers and how much we can purchase and how long that will be accessible. We just do what we can do. And I do get some money into the budget for like student focus group morning teas and stuff, but it's not ongoing and it's not it's not for every region. It's
Thank you. I'm just going to ask a question because I thought that the SRC was a voluntary role regardless. Is that not what's it said? Can it be paid? I remember coming to the summit last year and talking to the students, and they were talking about remuneration, and we do everything that you've sort of put out there, not so much in the professional development space. That's an area in our plan that we need to sort of work on at the moment, but for us, it's very much a volunteer role. It's very explicit when people are interviewed to come on board, when they present their expression of interest through the website or in person and apply. It's a voluntary role, but they get all of the incentives, the merchandise, the certificates, the induction. If you take on a role that's a chairperson or secretary, because again, people are elected into those roles, I think we've all got a little bit of a different model as to how the SRCs work. And I think in Victoria, we've got 12 or 13 TAFE institutions. So it's very different for us. We're not sort of reaching out to the same TAFE and different regions. It's really like, I can see Diana, you're from Kangan, your model's going to be possibly different to what Holmes Glen's doing in Victoria as well, depending on your campuses, depending on your students, depending on what happens in your space. So I think, and Emma, when you're talking, I'm like, that's a really different model to what's happening here. Does that make sense? Because I'm reaching out to everybody within the one, sort of our campus space is Victoria. That's where we are based.
Yeah, same for us. We're Queensland.
Yeah, your whole
we've
of
got
Queensland.
6 regions. Yeah. 54 campuses. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have 54 campuses. I'm like, oh my god, regions. We just have the 7 campuses basically. That's how it works, and we've got to reach out to them, and not all of them run a higher ed. Yeah. Some of them are very trades orientated. Some of them are very casually based. So yeah, it's a different. So I think that'll be interesting for us to sort of work that out. Interesting, Emma, that you've gone. I like that you've had some time to work on your rules and guidelines. I've found in my space, I'm going back to that and having to redo it because of this transition and because of the way things have changed over the last 12 to 18 months. And we are going to have to look at a constitution. We are actually going to have to look at a charter, and that's what we're being told to do. And that's a space I've never been in before. So I'm happy to go to the universities and higher ed and go, what does that look like in your space, and how is it going to work in the vet space? And it is purely
there's a lot
because...
on people's websites, is what I can tell you. Just start Googling like specific universities or specific, and why we went for rules and responsibilities was because we've had some really curly things come up in the last 2 years. So we didn't launch till last year, but as Anitza said, we've been doing this since 2021. So they've been trialling student ambassadors, and we were trialling student reps, and then we kept on trialling and piloting until we got to a point where we were happy with what that would look like, and we could scale it up across the state. But we had an example is a student, very, very passionate student, very, very good advocate for student voice, who was putting our content onto her OnlyFans account. Now, we don't stop people from putting stuff onto their social media, which OnlyFans is. So it's kind of like we had to work around that. That's just one example. And we've had to be really specific where we can call people out and dissolve or remove them and dissolve the groups if we need to.
No, that's okay. The last 12 months, I've had some curly ones myself. It's all good. That's why we're going back and having a look at what the documentation looks like, so that we know that we're covering that off, particularly privacy and confidentiality and the conflict of interest. Why exactly are you coming into SRC? And do you understand that it's more so about representing all students, not just your course students? So, there are some curly things in there.
So we hope to have our handbook up by the end of the month, up onto the website where anyone could have a look at it. So you're welcome to have a go at that, Tina. I have used Holmes Glen Institute's detail that Michaela put together, the booklet that was put together, and how you guys do the student representative program model. And I've spoken about what that would look like at TAFE Queensland in there as well. So we have used some of that content.
I think when you asked me for that booklet, I actually went, what booklet? I'd been sitting here 12 months going, what is everyone talking about and where is it? And had to come back to Belinda to go, what are the people? Because we have had a department split, change, the whole lot go on, and there was nothing in any drive that I could find. So it was like, Belinda's like, here it is. And I'm like, okay, now I know what people are talking about and asking me for. So I'm still keen for those
documents if you find them too that are in that major document. No. Okay.
And I have to wait until we create those.
Awesome. Because I'm hoping you create them before I have to create them. That'd be great.
I think probably we just maybe need to touch base and look and see where we're both at with that, because we've got our policy and procedure people working on those things as well. Look, we have sent some things off for review, which is the terms of reference and the roles around chairperson, secretary, and treasurer, because we've got Flora is the treasurer in that area, because things, obviously the way we've set up the budget, it'll need to be approved from SRC, and we need someone to be able to do that, and that will be Flora. She'll need to be able to sign off. We're not going to have
a treasurer. We don't have any money.
I noticed that you didn't have a treasurer in there. And I think this is an interesting concept as to why you don't have funds. Anyway, I'm going to leave that one with you. And we're obviously all different in that space.
And I think it sounds like because the SAF fee isn't optional, so if you're not charging the SAF fee, then you're not having to adhere to that legislation, meaning you're using different funds and you don't need to have a treasurer to manage a separate entity as in a student-led organisation, which is kind of the position Homesland is in by the sounds of it. You're having to create that separate separate body.
I think it was interesting as to probably how people who get paid a lot more than me made that decision and decided that that's the way that they wanted to go, and then it was like, how do we allocate it? Here you go, Tina, there's the criteria, pick something. And I went, okay. And that was 6 months into the job role, and I went, that's going to be interesting. Isn't this about students wanting to spend the money and what that looks like? So, really, I've just spent the last 6 months with Flora and the team just trying to get the council to 8 members. So we've got student voice and connecting with those other areas. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for everybody. Yeah. Diana, can I just ask, do you have SRC at Kangan? I'm not sure. Sorry, I'd missed the bit of the brief. And
No, not really. Like we used to have a youth SRC, but it wasn't really run open or widely across the whole organization, which is why we now trying to maybe trial. We're going through that iterative process of trialing something, seeing how it goes. We trialed the ambassador role for a year, and it's gone well. And so they are different in a sense that they're getting paid. Now we're going to try the student voice group, which is where I'm kind of heading towards, trying to find a way in which the organization invests on that voice. And that's with, if it's not payrolls, with training or some type of recognition and, non-financial awards, so they can actually see the value of being part of that voice and lifting up the profile students, elevating the voices. And then from there, because we don't have higher ed, we would not have to do, a student rep council. But I like the idea of, they do pay amenities fees. From what I know, it's not my area either, but I know they do pay amenities fees. So is where there's an obligation of any, in any way by regulations of using that part of that fee towards some type of student leadership or student representation, which I think it should really be across the whole sector, not just higher ed. It should be TAFE as well, because there's a responsibility of using that money towards benefiting students, because that's why it's there for. And so I don't know if that's something that we can explore, but no, we haven't actually have a real goal of having SSCs, and I like the idea, but we are not in a position of having the higher, at least at this point. It may be for the future, it's something that could potentially, be of interest for senior and CEO. But I like to think that we could potentially do something in the future.
Can I just ask, because the word student ambassador is quite interesting, and we do have student ambassadors, but they sit within our marketing department. They are paid, and they are student ambassadors that are paid to do a role like be here for open nights and events, but it is a paid role, a student ambassador role. And I have to say that we have many student ambassadors who are also volunteers in SRC. So it's a really tricky space for us because we want to try and keep them in SRC, but they're getting paid as a student ambassador role. Is that student ambassador role sitting within your area as well? Is that not, it's not a marketing thing? No. And what do they do in that job role?
It's basically still being the face of students, but representing the voice in initiatives, projects, programs we do within the student engagement experience, I guess, portfolio, like things like orientations, things like, you know, your main events, like Are You Okay? Wear a Purple Day, all these things, projects that we do with local stakeholders that we have had, you know, the opportunity to be in partnership applying for projects and funding. So they actively support us with everything that is related to improving the student experience. And in some ways, having a go at actually, you know, presenting initiatives or ideas that may, you know, that have the merit to hopefully progress into something more. But it's quite limited. We only have 2 in Metro and 2 in regional campuses. And as I said, it's been a year and they get paid. But the good thing is that, yeah, they are within our student services and success portfolio. So we don't have to share them across. And they do get sometimes, you know, time to time, people asking for the voices in different projects. So, you know, voices in, I don't know, organizational design projects and things like that. They want to have some student voice, which is why I think it's such a high need to have a student voice, an actual group of people. But yeah, that's how it works for us. And they would be in, like, the idea is that they would be leading the student voice once we form a student voice that has some recognition and it has that, you know, elevated status within BKI.
Okay.
That's the idea. That's the goal. But yeah.
Are they paid for what they attend and they do, like casual sort of payment?
They're more part-time. And it's a job split into 2 people, basically, a position. But they are within the pack and they have, they have all the employment rights and responsibilities that any other employee would have. They do need to be current students, so there's a share there that it can be tricky, and that's something we have gone through as well, like being the first time looking at how they still maintaining the commitments with the course and successful, you know, attendance and completion rate and blah, 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 at the same time being ambassadors. So, yeah.
Okay. So that's similar to what they would do, but within our marketing area, that's what happens here at Holmes Glen. So we don't have access to that, to the student ambassadors. They're employed through them, and they can volunteer to be on the SRC if they want to. But we have the same challenge, which is they need to commit to their course. They've got life. International students are trying to work. All students actually trying to work to, you know, support themselves. Yeah, it can be challenging for them. So, yeah, within the institute, we've got a little bit of competition because people can be paid to be an ambassador, and we're just handing out, you know, free awards. It's just
it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. That's why I was asking initially about formal recognition, because it's tough to have just 4 being paid and the rest trying to also, I guess, we wanting them to be elevating the voices and take, you know, contribute to
and,
you know, small and bigger things. They don't get paid. So,
and that's why we've just got the graduate employment position, which will change.
That's a good one.
Every 12 to 18 months will change. That individual will need to advertise again, and it's an actual employed position that comes on board, but they are a graduate. And we do that for First Nations students as well. So we do have a graduate employment position for First Nations students who have attended a course here at Holmes Glen, and then can, there's an expression of interest as to where they can work within Holmes Glen for 12 to 18 months as well. Anyway, that's an aside, but yes, it would be interesting to see how you go with paid and unpaid being in the same space. Just we decided that it was all voluntary in that space. But if you take on a higher level role, such as chairperson or secretary, you actually get a little bit more in regards to either a discount on trips and events or whatever that might look like. Yeah.
And is there any institutions that recognise any co-curricular activities or extracurricular activities on the transcript or like testamar or anything when they graduate, or what's it called, like a statement of attainment or anything like that?
We've asked, it can't be put on, but we're going to just give another sort of either a letter and a certificate of attendance and a letter to say that they've been on there so they can add it to their CV. But I think, Belinda, that was raised at the summit last year, wasn't it? That there were a lot of students asking if that could be added to their statement of results or testimony or whatever. Yeah.
I just know from the higher ed perspective, there is a number of institutions that do that, and they get it recognised on their AHEGs, which is like their statement that lists all their courses and their grades and everything like that. But I wasn't sure from a vet perspective whether anyone's done that before or looked into it.
No, but I'm happy to follow it up in some meetings and see what that looks like. So yeah,
it's hard to get started.
Look, it might be, but if we can work on someone or something somewhere, that would be nice. Yeah.
Well, I'm mindful we've gone a little bit over time.
Are there any questions for anyone? I know we've gone over time, but I noticed that, so, you know, some of you have been sitting and listening to, you know, my voice. So are there any pressing questions or things that you would like us to readdress when we come back into our next meeting? Things that you're going to go away and have a look at and maybe, you know, can discuss next time we meet? And I'm so sorry, but my chat's not working. So if you're writing it in the chat, Belinda, I'm leaving it with you.
I can tell you. Yep. No, okay. No one's writing anything in the chat.
Okay.
And yeah, before we wrap up, if I can just do a bit of a call out. So we're running our Student Voice Australasia Symposium and Student Summit at the end of October, from the 23rd to the 24th of October on Griffith University on the Gold Coast. And we're doing a call out for working group members at the moment. So I'd really like to work with this network around running a session specifically at the symposium for TAFE and VET sector institutions. So if anyone's interested in contributing to that, if you can send me a quick email after this, it shouldn't be too much of a time commitment coming to a few kind of working group meetings, or even if you have any ideas or suggestions of what you want to see at that event if you're coming along, to make sure that we can personalise it to not only higher ed but as well as all of our members across SVA. And we'd love to get as many students there as well. So if there's any keen students that you know want to be involved, both staff and students, we're doing a call out for that. We'd love to hear from you. And then our next meeting, I think it's scheduled for around, we're looking at around bi-monthly. So I think we're looking at August next. But please, yeah, feel free to reach out to me in between meetings if you have a burning question, if you'd like to learn more about specifically what other institutions are doing in different areas, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, I send a monthly newsletter, so you'll probably get that within the first fortnight of every month. I've sent the June one already. If you're not on the mailing list already, you can join just on the SVA homepage website to get the updates from everything. And I think most people in the room are from member institutions, but if you're not, we also have a mid-year discount for members who would like to come on board for the rest of the year. If you're interested in learning more, let me know, because there are free tickets to the symposium and the summit included in that membership as well. So pretty good value, if I can just do my little plug at the end of the session there as well. And thank you to Tina for putting your hand up to co-convene the network.
Diana, I think you've got a question. You're on mute.
Sorry.
It happens.
Just a couple of things. One was, if Belinda doesn't mind, once you have that research you were talking about for the Hyatt recognition research, I'll be interested to read that, if you don't mind sharing that with us.
Yes.
And the second thing was for the SRCs with Tina at Homesland, have you had any thoughts of them being sitting at any type of executive meeting or any, like being part of board meetings or things like that, in terms of really even becoming more impactful and influence more higher level decision making?
Our CE asks to meet twice a year with our SRC, which we do. Just finding a date is a problem. So they meet with the CE and the board member independently outside of those meetings. Then they're asked questions by the board and our CE as to some of their concerns, I suppose, that they're raising in their meetings, and then asking feedback from our students. We have just done a half-yearly barbecue to ask for all the students at Homesland to commit to doing feedback. We will present that. They also sit on our research and course committees as well. So yes, they are connected into all of the higher level stuff. We just need to be careful to monitor that and have the right students. I know this is going to sound interesting, in those spaces. And you will work this out, because sometimes some students may ask some difficult or interesting questions, and I'm not in those meetings. That is between the student, the board. I am in the board and the CE ones, but I'm not in the other course committee meetings. And then, you know, that will come to you going, why is this student involved? So I'm just letting you know, just be aware that might be some of the challenges in that space. But yes, they are involved in that space. So that's part of how do we elect and how do we monitor that. And again, the roles and responsibilities, which Emma was talking about, those little tricky, curly situations that you might be placed in. It's all fun.
And potentially in the next meeting, it would be good to also have a look at the channels of communication, because I just noticed you mentioned about barbecue to get more student feedback. That's the other tricky, I guess, in my view, a challenge, how the reps can actually like, is there any effective channel that they can connect with the wider student population to actually get more representation of different voices in whatever they present, which can be tricky if there's not there isn't any type of like a specific channel use, whether there's a, you know, an app or an actual you know, forum that they, like a live forum that they can just drop in feedback or something like that.
Yep. That maybe we'll hold that over, Belinda, till next time, because that's a very big discussion, I think, for most institutions, to talk about how the communication strategy that we have for students. Yeah,
and there's the collecting the feedback component, the wide student body feedback, and there's the feeding it to different areas and the right areas as well.
Yeah. It's a feedback loop, and we've got to consider how that's undertaken. So yeah. And everyone's dropping out, Belinda. Sorry.
Yeah, because we've gone a bit over.
Anyway,
so
thank you everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for Belinda.
I will share the recording to everyone who's registered as well, if you weren't able to come for the whole thing. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thanks everybody, and thanks Belinda too for getting us started. We really appreciate it. You've done a great job. Thank you.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.
All good?
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
If you can you just turn the recording off?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's do that. Stop recording. There we go. I think it stopped.